This female Blackhawk pilot crashes into a passenger plane and kills almost 70 people. We don't know if she intentionally ignored commands from her chief or if this was something a little bit deeper. Let's get straight off into this.
This woman is responsible for the deaths of almost 70 people in the Blackhawk accident because her ego was too big. The captain of the Blackhawk, Rebecca Lobach, repeatedly ignored her instructor and did not listen to her co-captain when they gave her instructions to avoid the airplane. 64 people, including 12 children, lost their lives because she didn't want to turn the opposite direction to avoid the airplane. When the Blackhawk was 15 seconds away from crossing paths with the airplane, the captain's crew told her to turn left. This move would have opened up more space between the helicopter and the airplane. She did not turn left. Minutes before the accident, her instructor told her that the helicopter was flying way too high. This height could easily cause an accident. Captain Lobach told her instructor that she would lower the helicopter soon. Guess what? She never did that too.
Wow. Yeah, so this story is devastating, absolutely devastating. But there's something to this, which is why I wanted to cover it today. Let me know what you guys think. I've had female managers, I've had female bosses. There's something about women that are placed in seniority positions where they have superiority or there's a hierarchy of them being higher than someone else. I've seen more women in management positions abuse power more than men. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. I had a sales manager one time, way back in the day, back in my day in Austin, Texas. I was working at a massive company and I had a female manager. She would be super hard on all the guys, but anytime a girl came by, she'd be like, it's okay. You don't have to, it's fine. You don't have to hit your numbers. We won't fire you. But then they would fire a guy left and right. They would fire guys left and right if they didn't hit their numbers. Have you guys had that same experience? I don't know what it is, but it seems like when women are placed in positions of power, they abuse that said power. This is crazy though. It's an absolutely wild story.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
The Army...
Bro, the internet... Oh my God, that was terrible. The internet is undefeated.
The Army just released the pilot's name of the Blackhawk helicopter that collided with the American Airlines flight 2 days ago, and her name is Rebecca Lobach.
She seems so happy there, too.
Rebecca was one of the 3 soldiers that passed away in the collision with the American Airlines flight a few nights ago, and she was only 28 years old. Rebecca was a White House aide to Joe Biden when he was in the White House, and then joined the Army as an aviation officer in July of 2019. She had been awarded the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, National Defense Service Medal, and the Army Service Ribbon.
That's what I'm saying. She's got a lot of accolades. And I feel like when you're in the military, and chat, educate me here if I'm wrong, but I feel like when you're in the military, you have to respond to your superiors a lot. And one of the ways you move up, and maybe it's just like this in corporate America, because that's where I'm from, you have to appeal to the hierarchy of power to move up. That's what it is. Like, you can't just be rogue and run amok and do whatever you want and be like, I'm a maverick, I just don't give a shit. And it doesn't work like that. So it seems like she was following commands and she was 28. I'm just so confused at why she didn't at this point.
Now, we knew the name of the other 2 soldiers on the Blackhawk helicopter relatively soon, but her family asked that the Army not release her name until they were ready. They said in a statement, "We are devastated by the loss of our beloved Rebecca. She was a bright star in our lives. Rebecca was a warrior and would not hesitate to defend her country in battle." Lobach was from Durham, North Carolina, and she enlisted in the National Guard back in college in 2018.
It seems like it was intentionally done. With all the information coming out about this DCA crash with the Blackhawk helicopter.
I mean, I'm going to keep it a thou wow, dude. In chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. I feel like if you intentionally did not follow instructions from a superior, you made a choice. It goes back to my whole philosophy of like, what you're not changing, you're choosing. And so she chose to do nothing when she could have changed what she was doing and followed instructions, followed orders. So it's a little odd to me that she didn't do anything. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this was intentional, chat? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree.
The commercial airplane, fingers are pointing to the fact that Rebecca Lobach intentionally did this. That's what it's leaning toward. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but earlier this year, The Blackhawk helicopter with Rebecca Lobach, she was the pilot, she was training, being overseen by somebody who was higher than her, and there were other occupants on that helicopter, collided with the commercial plane while they were landing in the DCA airport. Now,
and doesn't that have to be like, once again, educate me here if I'm wrong here, chat. I feel like the likeliness of a Blackhawk hitting a passenger plane, that is like 1 in a skrillion, bruh. That's very difficult. I bet people trying to do it would even maybe fail, but like, that seems very difficult to do, no?
Now, both aircrafts crashed over the Potomac River, and there were no survivors, none at all. And we were wondering, well, what happened? Maybe she didn't see, maybe she turned. But then remember, there was the recordings coming out from the tower where the tower explicitly said, hey, you know, there's this plane coming in, and she still didn't listen. So let's go ahead and read through what's being reported now. The pilot of the Blackhawk helicopter that collided with the American Airlines passenger airplane did not comply with the directions to change course seconds before the fatal incident, a bombshell new report has revealed. On the night of January 29th, Army Blackhawk pilot Captain Rebecca Lobach was conducting an annual flight evaluation with her co-pilot, Chief.
Bro, this is totally out of pocket, but what if you drove a Blackhawk and your name was Mike Hawk? Horrible joke. I'm sorry, chat. I do apologize.
Warrant Officer 2, Andrew Eves, who was serving as her flight instructor. 3 months on, new details published by the New York Times revealed that the pilot made more than one mistake, leading to one of the worst catastrophes in aviation history. Not only was Lobach flying her Black Hawk too high, but in the final moments before the impact, she failed to take advice and instruction from her co-pilot to switch course.
Now, here, I'll give her this. Maybe she was freaking out. I've seen that women's response to high-stress situations typically isn't as good as men's, unless you're a female nurse or a woman doctor or things like that. They're used to being in those high-anxiety-ridden spaces, you know. But in most scenarios, from what I've encountered, when things start to go south, the men are the ones that are cool, calm, collected, and the women are the ones that freak out. So maybe she had a freak out. Maybe she's like, oh my God, what's going on? It was 2 female pilots. Maybe they were both freaking out. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened.
Lobach's piloting skills were being tested during the evaluation on the fateful night, before the crew were informed that an aircraft was nearby, according to the report. Just 15 seconds before colliding with the commercial airplane, air traffic control told Lobach and Eves to turn left, but she did not do so.
That, to me, seems like willful negligence. Like, you could have just turned left. NASCAR drivers do it all the time. You seen that South Park episode where Cartman's like, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to hit the track, I'm going to push the pedal down, and I'm going to turn left. I feel like turning left would have been probably way easier.
Seconds before impact, co-pilot Eves then turned to Lobach in the cockpit and told her that air traffic control wanted her to turn left. She still did not do so. Yikes. Investigators may never know why Lobach did not change course that day. Might I add that 67 people lost their life that night. And people were so upset with Trump saying that it was DEI, right? A lot of the questions that come up about DEI, and I know that when people hear DEI, they think, oh, black, he's attacking black. But at the root of the issue is competency. Yes. Competency. And I don't know any competent, cognitively well person that would fail to follow directions when their life could be in danger. Not only...
Big facts to this woman. Completely agree. Dude, the whole DEI thing, they should respell it to DIE. But I don't care about your racial background, your ethnicity, your poverty, whatever it is. I care about competency, not diversity. Chat, put one in the chat if you agree. I care about competency, not diversity. I want the best pilots. I want the best, people making our food. I want the best of everything. I don't want anybody just there because it's like, we're just trying to fill a quota. No.
Their life, but other people's life. So I know we'll probably never know, but I would like to know, why did she do it? Was it intentional?
All right, so I'm sure by now a lot of you guys have already heard the news that the other pilot in the Blackhawk that crashed into the American Airlines flight over D.C. over the Potomac was a Captain Rebecca Lobach. And I wanted to make a video about this because I just realized last night that she is a local from Durham, North Carolina. and we both went to the same college together. Not the same time, but we both went to the same college. So Captain Rebecca Lobach was a ROTC student at Chapel Hill. I was an
Bro, I don't know about y'all, but the kids that did ROTC in high school, I was always like, they're a little off. Like, they use the ROTC like they was for real in the military. Like, you're talking to a future Marine. It's like, dude, you're in ROTC in high school. Like, calm down. You're not enlisted. Like, a lot of those guys just took it so serious. I mean, and I appreciate everybody that has served, and I've got veterans in my family. Like, I appreciate those guys. But the ROTC kids in high school, I was always like, there's something off with these guys.
ROTC student at Chapel Hill for the Naval ROTC program when I was going through my enlisted commissioning program. Not only was she a student at the ROTC program at Chapel Hill, but she was a distinguished graduate, which means that she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, she's good.
I've had a lot of people telling me that she was one of the most loving, kind human beings that they've ever encountered in their life. So I wanted to express my heartfelt condolences to her friends and family for their loss.
Yeah, man, it's not making sense. Like, if 2 plus 2 is 4, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. She was in the ROTC thing. She crushed it. People liked her. She was a captain. She was a young captain. She was 28. She had done more by the time she was 28 than I had done, I'll tell you that. But I was still trying to find my rear end at 28. Like, it just doesn't make sense why she would. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe she was so full of gusto and confidence that she thought, oh, I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone. That's why I think there's something that men understand that women sometimes don't get. Is like killing your ego. Men aren't as emotionally driven, whereas women typically are. Men are more logically driven. So we understand that you got to leave your ego at the door. Marquette Devon talks about this. I don't know if you guys have seen him talk about this, but Marquette Devon, he was on the Fresh and Fit podcast. He talks about when boys and girls are left to unstructured play, what happens. It also correlates to Bear Grylls, The Island. But he talks about boys and girls being left to unstructured play. When girls are left to unstructured play, they just end the game. They stop playing entirely because they want to be so egalitarian. They want everybody to get the same outcome. They want everybody to get the equal income, equal outcome, and it just falls apart. They can't go back to a hierarchy and continue the game. When the boys are left to unstructured play, they create hierarchies. There's a captain, there's officers, there's enforcers, and then there's guys that are more, I guess, pawns in the game. You got your pawns, your knights, your rooks, your bishops, and your king, right? When conflict arises, the boys address the hierarchy, they go through, they do conflict resolution, and then they continue the game. Girls don't do that. They're more egalitarian. If you guys want to see this in real time, I have a video where I break down Bear Grylls, The Island, and like the first 2 weeks, the women are getting dysentery. It's like a game of Oregon Trail. It's like, John died of dysentery. You ran out of corn. It really is bad. It's really horrible. Like, these women are suffering, I think it's kidney failure, and the producers are on the phone with them saying, ladies, if you ladies don't get this together, we're going to have to end the show. Like, you're starting to have kidney failure because you're not drinking enough water. They had 2 canteens that they could have for water. They ruined the first one because they caught a pig and cut it up, put it inside the canteen.
You stupid.
And then dug underground and then put the canteen underground because they thought that underground would be colder and it would refrigerate the meat. You think I'm making this up, buddy? The stories really write themselves. You think I'm not making this up. This is for real though, my dildo. It's crazy to, like, when you watch it, you're like, wow, you got to be another level of freaking stupid to think that. So they dig up that one canteen with all this pork meat, with all this pig meat, and it's ruined. It's like, it smells sour. Of course, the food is rotted, the meat's rotted, and so they're like, okay, that one's done. We can't do anything in that. And they have this one other canteen, and they're like boiling water. They put, because you got to boil that water out there. You can get sick, bro. They're boiling the water on a fire. Nobody's watching the water canteen, and it just tips over and just empties out all their water.
Stupid.
And the guys, it'll cut to the guys, they're just flourishing. Absolutely flourishing. They're catching fish, they're gaining weight, they're building hammocks, they're playing games, they're having the times of their lives. But women just aren't because they're so egalitarian. And then it cuts to a clip of them just talking around a campfire, and they're like, ladies, we need to do something. We need to figure this out. And they're like, yeah, but I want everybody to be, we all need to make decisions. We all need to help. We all need to, and then one of the other women's like, but Rebecca, that's not working. like Sarah over there is having kidney failure, so we need to switch it up. And they just had to end it. The guys could have stayed out there for 7 months, but the women could barely be out there for 7 days. And even when the women did catch the pig, it was real sus. This pig was tied up. This pig was harnessed in something. The dudes are catching alligators with their bare hands, bro, and sharks, bro. It's insane. You got to go watch it. If you haven't seen it, it is truly a spectacle. Does somebody want some? Here, let's do this. Wait. Can we get some frees in the chat? Free. Boy. No Morgan and Morgan. We typically do monthly deals. So the last month deal is over, sadly. We'll probably renew. Just keeping you guys updated because I know you just love that stupid Morgan and Morgan ad. It's so ridiculous. But no, I love Morgan and Morgan. They're great. Let's see here. Let's get back into this.
Just released the name and images of the female pilot that was involved in the Blackhawk Accident plane crash in Washington, D.C. This is Captain Rebecca Lobach. She was only 28 years old on the day of the plane crash, and her family wanted to keep her identity private until now, which they've just released a few hours ago. She served in the military for almost 6 years, and she was also an aide to the White House during the Joe Biden administration. Here's an image of her serving our country, and while she was in the Army, she achieved many different medals, like the Army Accommodation Medal and the Army Achievement Medal, along with the National Defense Service Medal and Army Service Ribbon. And there was a lot of rumors that came out about her, even though people didn't know who she was, saying that she was a transgendered individual, which she is not. But the Army did have this to say about her, that Rebecca was a warrior and would not hesitate to defend her country. And though she has a lot of flight experience, mistakes are sometimes made. Though a lot of people want to put mistakes and blame on a woman, she was being overseen by a chief warrant officer who would have taken control in the event of an emergency. Mistakes were made, and that's just not how things panned out.
But bro, I feel like the likeliness that they would crash is got to be low. Chat, am I way off base for thinking that? I feel like in the aviation industry, they have some of the highest safety protocols. You don't hear about this stuff a lot. You don't hear about planes going down a ton. You really don't. So it's wild to me that that's what happened. They collided and went down. But it goes back to my whole entire thing of women typically, and this is not all the time, but women typically abusing power when men don't. This is why I believe matriarchies don't work. Because patriarchies create hierarchies inside the patriarchy and say, all right, this is the figurehead of the man. He pushes commands down to the enforcers, and the enforcers, make the things happen, right? With women, they want it to be so, everything needs to be equal. It's egalitarian in a sense, so nothing can get done because whether you want to believe it or not, Ripley's believe it or not, you can't make everybody happy when you make decisions. No leader can. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. Even with the whole presidency right now, there's certain things that he does that make certain people mad, make certain people happy. Not every decision that you do is going to make everyone happy. It's just the same thing when you're like a free thinker or a commentator like myself. Not everything I say you guys are going to agree with. But I think the beautiful thing is that you guys can come here, we can have a good time, and we can agree on most things. Maybe we don't agree on everything, and I think that's totally okay. I think we need to get back to a point where people can agree to disagree. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember them times? I remember back in my day, you could agree to disagree, and you could still be buddies. You can still share a cold beer with your buddy from agreeing to disagree. Nowadays, it's like people are looking for someone that 100% agrees with them. And I think it bleeds off and gets muddy in the water of the dating market. Women want men that just agree with them 100% on everything. It's like they want liberal-minded men, but then they want them to have conservative values.
You stupid.
You want him to provide and protect and love you unconditionally, but you want him to want free health care and want him to also stay home and raise the kids, but let you work, but also pay your bills. It's like, what do you ladies really want? So I think we're gonna see a shift here in the next few years where women go back to wanting traditionally conservative men. Right now, being conservative is radical. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you agree. I remember back in my day when being liberal was radical. Oh, we're liberal. They dye their hair. They put piercings in their face. That's the new norm now. What's radical now is being conservative. Just wild to me. Have a low body count. Don't be promiscuous. Go to church. Treat women with respect. Treat men with respect. Help out your community. That's radical. It's like, what? What? How do we get to this point? It's crazy times that we're living in. Ain't that right, Lokes? It's insane what we're going through. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Let me know what you think about this entire episode. Did you like this kind of stuff? Should we do a little bit of news and try to bleed it off into the modern dating market? Let me know. I love your feedback, but I really do appreciate you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow, man. Peace.